Good day, senior high school students, future philosophers. Welcome to the introduction to the philosophy of the human person. Our subject for today is about intersubjectivity. Let me give to you the most essential learning competencies. Number 1, to realize that intersubjectivity requires accepting differences and not imposing on others. Number 2, to explain that authentic dialogue means accepting others even if they are different from themselves. And 3, performs activities that demonstrate an appreciation for the talents of persons with disabilities and those from the underprivileged sectors of the society. Now let's go to the pretest. You can get a pen and paper to answer. Number 1, it refers to shared meanings constructed by people in their interaction with each other. Letter A, actions. B, communication. C, intersubjectivity. D, relationship. Number 2, it is a major philosophical branch that devotes much discussion on the concept of interpersonal relations, self-awareness, and transcendence. The choices are letter A, Existentialism, letter B, Idealism, letter C, Pragmatism, and D, Realism. For number 3, it is a form of interpersonal communication which occurs when people recognize that they are part of a greater whole and can relate with others within the whole. Letter A, authentic dialogue. B, deceptive dialogue. Letter C, exploitative dialogue. Or letter D, inauthentic monologue. For number 4, it arises when a person ceases to view the other as a distinct or authentic person and merely considers the other person as a mere object or a means to satisfy personal interest. Is it letter A, alienation? Letter B, authentication. Letter C, discrimination. And letter D, separation. For our last number, the following are considered as underprivileged except letter A, children, B, women, C, tycoons, D, members of the LGBT community. So later I will give the answer. So it is okay if you got low scores, but I hope when we are or when I give the post test, you will get a perfect or high score. Now let's do this. Can you identify the following statements? It is an idea or view that everything has been determined or set up before human existence. Next, it is a philosophical movement known for its inquiry on human existence, hence the word to exist. Can you identify this? Another, it is the act or not, or the ability to choose or not to choose in any situation. Anybody? Next, according to this philosopher, freedom is the manner intellectual beings in which they seek universal goodness. Last, this philosopher emphasizes the importance of free individual choice regardless of the power of the other people to influence and coerce our desires, beliefs, and decisions. So I hope you get all the correct answers. So let's start. Whenever an unfortunate event occurs, you feel sad, but how do you assure yourself that those feelings are real? In looking at the example, it is easy to say that interacting with others can confirm the validity of the emotions of the person may have towards the environment. In this action, intersubjectivity takes place. The COVID-19 pandemic forced us to be literally distant to other people. Health measures such as social or physical distancing became a hindrance for us to interact with the outside world. As human beings, we have the natural tendency to establish relationships, connections, and create bond with other people. We are bound to interact with them in meaningful ways. In times like this, Physical interactions are very limited, which will most likely affect our social relationships. We may find ourselves asking questions like, are people feeling more or less attached to others? How are families feeling about working or studying from home together? What are the effects of the people working full time from home and while also caring full time for their children? How will this situation affect those who are living alone right now? So there are many questions. In this lesson, you will learn that human beings are primarily intended to exist with others and described as relational beings. This will also give you a thorough explanation on how to treat your kapwa as persons, sharing same situations wherein we can create, relate, and understand shared meanings that will lead us to study the concept of intersubjectivity. When we say intersubjectivity, this is about the shared perception of reality between or among two or more individuals. Intersubjectivity is an interaction between self and other which mutual recognition of each other as person is. A unique relationship between distinct subjects. In everyday social interaction, persons have the ability to agree and cooperate with each other. It is the condition of a man, a subject among other men who are also subjects. It refers to the shared awareness and understanding among persons. It is made possible by the awareness of the self and the other, according to Delgado in 2018. Each person has a subjective experience in the world, however, because of this subjective experience, one cannot know which event occurs in reality or which are products of self-perception. Social interactions among individuals through comparison, agreement, and confirmation of each other's perceptions make it easier to determine real events occurring in the society. This awareness of individuality is called the self. Existentialist defines interpersonal relations as the self being aware in himself or herself. The other generally refers to the objects outside the personal experience. Philosophers refer to other individuals apart from self. In other words, an individual is naturally aware of himself as a distinct being or self, and yet he is also aware that there are other being apart from him, which is the other. Social interaction is evidence such as ability to agree and cooperate, shared common knowledge, consensus, and shared emotions. The self and others are therefore seen as a pair that share each other's life or lived experiences. This is much like the concept of empathy or being in the shoes of others. Because intersubjectivity looks at others as embedded within the self, it is safe to say that intersubjectivity promotes a view that all people are equal. This would imply that people from other sectors of the society, such as those with physical disabilities or socioeconomic challenges, are seen as individuals with same potential and talent as anybody else. Because intersubjectivity is unbiased, everyone has the power to understand relationships and interactions occurring within the society with little regard to physical or social deficiencies. In effect, people who are marginalized may still be seen as significant contributors to society through their talents, skills, and capabilities. The following are some authentic examples of disadvantaged individuals who have significantly contributed to the society. So you can see in the picture, Nicholas James Vujicic is an Australian-American Christian evangelist and motivational speaker born with tetra amelia syndrome, a rare disorder characterized by the absence of arms and legs. Amazingly, Nick Vujicic was born with no arms or legs, being an evangelist, philanthropist, motivational speaker, and author of the bestsellers Life Without Limits, and Unstoppable are just some of his accomplishments aside from founding the organization Life Without Limbs. He has all done this without limbs. Next, another example is Stephen Hawking. He is the person whose genius that enables him to be named after Albert Einstein. His works has been groundbreaking to say the least. A Brief History of Time is one of his famous books. After he became paralyzed, he spent the rest of his life in a wheelchair. Disability need not to be an obstacle to success. So we should remember that. Now let's go to authentic dialogue. When we say authentic dialogue, it is a form of interpersonal communication wherein individuals acknowledge that they are part of a greater whole and they resonate with each other in a whole. This occurs when individuals learn to set aside their own biases and begin seeing themselves in others. In this sense, other people, including the marginalized sector, are seen as functional parts of the whole. No biases or preferences are exemplified during the dialogue because an individual has learned to perceive and communicate with others with a community and oneness. Example is overlooking at a fact your boss yelled at you since you understand that he only did it out of concern of an urgent matter. What is the importance of intersubjectivity? Number one, it facilitates interaction among individuals. It promotes sense of community and unity among individuals. It promotes equality. It emphasizes that everyone can contribute to a community. Can you give some importance that was not mentioned in this slide? So your ideas are very much welcome. So I hope you could think of some more importance of intersubjectivity. So for our activity, the person for others, activity 1.3, entitled person for others, the objective is to appreciate persons who embody and engage in a genuine relationship with others. For the directions, today as our nation grapples with the threats of a villain, an invisible enemy with the COVID-19, we realize that being a hero does not necessarily mean having superpowers. We realize that our modern day heroes no longer wear capes, but rather they wear lab suits or any personal protective equipment. Our modern day heroes are those who choose to work despite the danger of the pandemic, those who continue to serve the Filipino people. In this activity, identify a frontliner whom you consider embodying the concept of a person for others. Write a profile of your chosen individual highlighting his or her unconditional love for others. For our performance task, you can see it in the module. I will give you the page later so you can see what will you do in your performance task. So that's all for today and thank you very much. See you again in our next video lesson.